Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming back to my channel. This is Tina with Tina's Craft Creations. I'm on today with a very small project share and also sort of a little bit of a review for a die set that I was using. Now all of us, well, I should say most of us have probably ordered from KS Crafts on AliExpress, and a lot of her dies are readily available on Amazon as well. But I just wanted to kind of review the die set that I received. I got it probably a couple of months ago, but it's sort of a spring related die, so I haven't used it until now. Now what I made with this die were a bunch of word embellishments that I'll be sharing with a couple of swaps, and I'll be using them in my spring swaps as well. So for those of you that don't know, when you order these word dies, they're all together, and then you have to take them apart, and then you have the words and then the background. So essentially you have the word piece, which you need to cut out separately, and then you have the background piece that you can obviously use different types of paper on. So like for example, this one I used a coordinating paper from the collection that I'm working with, which is the Pink Paisley Paige Evans Bloom Street collection that came out a few years ago, and then I did holographic with the background. So you cut out your words, and then you cut out your background pieces, and then you can kind of mix and match them. So the little review that I have in regards to these dies, in case you've never ordered these types of dies before, is that you probably will need to run these through your die machine 2 or 3 times. At least I had to with this particular set. I actually ended up having to throw some of my pieces away, like the word pieces, because they are sort of intricate when you cut them out. And a lot of times well, not with all dies, but with this particular die set, that at least in my die set, it might not happen to everyone, but when you go to pull the die off of the paper, once you run it through your machine, the paper is obviously stuck inside the word piece, so it cuts out the word. Now it obviously has little dots in here that you can use, like a little pokey tool or something, to push the paper out. Now with this particular die set, I was running into trouble where some of the paper would sort of pop up, and I would try to like pull it out really slowly so I wouldn't rip it. Well, some of it was ripping because it was really stuck in here. So that's just my little review on this die set. So I would say run it through multiple times and pull very slowly when you're pulling your paper out, because these are really skinny pieces. Obviously it might not happen to everyone. It might just be the set that I received, and you know, this is just my honest review. I paid for this. I don't get sponsored by anyone or anything like that. But I have noticed that with some die sets, you do have that problem. So you have to run it through multiple times. So just be really careful when you're pulling your paper out of the actual metal piece, because it could rip. And that happened to me several times, and I had to just throw them away. So again, you have to do them separately. And then you get these beautiful pieces, so you can mix and match. Like I used this floral paper for the word, and it says shine, and then I used like a shimmer paper for the background. And then for whenever I had all my pieces cut out, because I do have some extra ones here, so it looks like this whenever you cut it out. And I also used some like plain pastel cardstock. So I did actually cut out some of the words, like too many and not enough backgrounds. I was just like in a die cutting mood last night. But yeah, so I also used some like some iridescent paper. So you can use any kind of paper, like holographic, you can use plain cardstock, you can use printed cardstock, whatever. So I just had a few extra pieces that I can still add to a project without the background. But once you cut those out, you then have to glue them onto the background. I was using my Bearly Arts glue, and this might sound a little gross, but I had an old long sleeve t-shirt on, and whenever you push the word down onto the paper, once you get the glue on, there's going to be a little bit of like glue on your hands. So I was honestly just using my sleeve to kind of wipe off the glue. I mean, crafting can be kind of gross sometimes, and I'm just being real here. So I had an old long sleeve t-shirt on, so I didn't care about getting a little bit of glue on it. And then also with the holographic, sometimes the glue will seep out onto the paper and you'll just want to wipe it off. So again, I was using my shirt sleeve. But again, I'm just being totally real here. I was working on these late last night, and yeah, so that's where we're at. But once the glue dries, then you have the word on the background. And then what I did was I sewed across all of mine with different colored threads. So I used yellow on some of these, so really pretty yellow thread. I also used a really pretty like spring green thread just to kind of coordinate with the collection. So obviously it took me a lot longer because I had to load my spools and I had to load my machine. I also did some in purple, but it looks so pretty when you use different colored threads to coordinate with your collection. So again, a lot of purple, I have yellow, I made a ton of these. So again, I have more purple. I did some in pink as well. Here's yellow. I started out with this really, really pale pink, and it was so pale that you couldn't even really tell it was pink. Like this one here, you can't even really tell it's pink thread. So I ended up switching to this slightly darker pink. It's not really much darker, but it's slightly darker than the one on the bottom. If you can see the difference. I just wanted them to be like as pastel as possible, just because this is a very pastel collection. So again, I just mixed glitter paper with cardstock from the collection, plain pastel cardstock, holographic, and again, I know most of you guys have seen these types of embellishments, but for those of you who haven't, or you've never gotten any of these dies, you'll know what to do when you get them. So again, you know, and then the thread just adds that extra level of dimension and texture onto your little embellishment here. And then you can add these onto any type of project. So there's some pink, there's the green again. So I made a ton of these. I was die cutting for a good couple of hours last night. Because I was cutting so many of the words, and then you have to get them out of the die, and then you have to cut the backgrounds. So, but you get so many nice different options if you vary the paper with the backgrounds. It just ends up looking so pretty, and I just love this collection. I'm so glad I didn't destash it. I was going to initially, and I just think it's so pretty, and I never played with it when it came out. I think it was in 2018 or 2019, maybe even 2020. It came out within the last couple of years, but it's so pretty, and I'm really excited to play with it because this is going to be a collection that I use for a couple of my spring swaps. So I'm just going to show you all of these because, again, you can just see the variations. If you use, like I said, with like a shimmer paper with a colored background, and then like a printed paper with a holographic, or printed with glitter paper, or a printed word with a plain background. So I'm really excited to play with this collection, and I really wanted to use this die. But like I said, I was just a little mad that it kept tearing my paper because it was so stuck in the die itself. And I do use one of those weed tools that came with my Cricut, and I still was having trouble. It was just a giant pain in the butt. But yeah, so I also did vellum. Like this one you can barely read, but I was trying vellum as well. But the vellum was just really, really delicate, and it didn't want to come out. That was one of the worst ones I had coming out of the die. But honestly, even just regular cardstock was struggling on some of them. So it ripped quite a few. But yeah, that is my quick little die review on that specific die from KS Crafts. If you guys have not ordered it, like I said, just be careful when you're pulling your paper out, because sometimes with these really skinny pieces, it can really tear easily. So just take your time, and like I said, run it through multiple times, and that should help keep it from sticking too much, but it also helps die cut the word itself very well. But yeah, that is my quick little project share and very mini review of an item. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. If you have not already, I greatly appreciate it if you would consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone.